pleasure to be here to talk about accessibility. And so interesting to connect with what Pascal just presented. I'm going to bring some data and information that probably you are aware, but if not, this is going to be a very good content for you to become aware of a concept we are bringing to the industry called inclusive design. But when we talk about people with disabilities, very few people know that there are over 1 billion people with disabilities in the world. 1 billion is 15% of the population, almost a China of people with disabilities. And the problem, most of disabilities, 70% of them are invisible. We don't know if someone is colorblind, hard of hearing, deaf, visually impaired, with cognitive disabilities. And in our society, someone with disability may not disclaim the disability at work, school, afraid to be treated differently. The problem, the definition for disability from the World Health Organization, before it was treated as a health problem or a health disease and should be treated from a medical perspective. But World Health Organization, I think 10 years ago, they changed the definition for people with disabilities. People with disabilities now, in definition, is mismatched interaction. What does it mean? It means if you create the right environment, everyone with all abilities can show up and bring their best. It's an interesting conversation of not be focused on the disability per se, but explore all the different abilities and create the connections that you can bring the human being to express itself and bring the rest. We may heard, and I was presenting this technology to the Minister, Carla Cottrell. She's the Minister for Persons with Disability in the Justin Trudeau government. I was talking about accommodation. So how companies create accommodation policies for people with disabilities and minorities. She said, "Can I coach you?" I said, "Yeah, of course." She's blind, by the way. She said to me, "Don't use the word accommodation, use the word adaptation." Accommodation means you bring someone to your environment and you try to make it work. But if you create an environment where everybody can work, it's going to work for everyone. I was like, damn it, that's true. So the challenge is adaptation. How can we create an environment where everyone can show up, not just from universal design perspective. We call universal design this building, tables, share, everything that is physical. This is universal design for. So if you make it accessible for someone with a wheelchair, it's going to work for someone with a stroller. So that's universal design. But from a technology perspective, especially from a Microsoft point of view, software, services, everything that we produce from technology perspective, this concept we call inclusive design, how we make softwares and solutions accessible to everyone. When we design Windows 10, when we design Office 365, when we design Xbox, Surface, HoloLens, how we make this product accessible in a way that everyone with all the different abilities can exploit. Maybe you were surprised, saying 1 billion people with disabilities. I don't see that, because some of the disabilities are permanent, and you can see, as I mentioned before, majority of them are invisible. But disabilities can also be temporary or situational. And I know that the picture is not a good one, and I'm not saying that if you have a kid, you have a disability. It's not the point. But this is the example that I want to bring. Remember what Pascal was presenting before, and it looks like that everything was working for us to present and make the bridge. He was showing an extreme example of ALS and the impact that it has in the life of someone experienced. And what he mentioned from Steve, I'm going to show, we work with Steve as well, the soccer player, and we came up with ideas in Windows 10 that I'm going to highlight later on. But the inclusive design concept is really interesting, and we can all apply to everything we do. It says, understand exclusion. When you build something, try to understand who is not going to experience or use your product or service or solution, and try to make it work. Make it work for one, extend to many, and learn from diversity. That's the three concepts. Inclusive design. Anytime if you want to take a note, Microsoft inclusive design, just Google, or Bing, much better. Just go Bing, Microsoft inclusive design, and you're gonna see this concept. And we have toolkits for free that people can design. But the concept is really interesting. Sometimes when people see, for example, Pascal talking, they may say, what is the market opportunity to address a solution for someone with ALS? He mentioned 300,000 people. Man, this is a niche conversation, right? Maybe philanthropy can address this. This is not the idea. The idea is, if you address the extreme, you're not going to just address the extreme. You're going to create usabilities in scenario that can be applied to other situations. In this example here, you can see someone without an arm. If you create something for someone armless, it's going to work for someone who broke an arm, or someone holding a baby. So now you understand why the parent with the baby, that's the example. So how many times you were in a hurry with a phone, a bag, and you have a door. And what do? You press with your bone, like you do with your arm, you open the door and you go. So you are using a universal design in a situation. We call this accessibility for few is usability for many. Accessibility for few is usability for many. Few more scenarios for thing. In touch. So I used the example from one arm, someone who broke an arm, or a new parent. Speak. If I could use my computer here, I could easily switch now to Portuguese. With AI technology, you could read subtitles. Or I could make this presentation with subtitles, which could be a more inclusive presentation if someone is hard of hearing or deaf, or if someone is not understanding my accent. And I hope you are all following my presentation. I know you are, right? Hearing. So how many of you are in an airport or at the gym and you see a TV with closed captions? It was designed for someone hard of hearing and deaf, but you are in a noisy place and it's working for you. Or seeing for someone blind or distracted driver. We are seeing more and more of this kind of ideas in designing and bringing products to life. Other cool example, we are so lucky to have like more than 1.6 billion users around the world and collecting feedback and support requests. We are bringing more and more suggestions, like from the blind community when we were doing spelling and grammar in Outlook and Word document. We realized the request was not just to find the correction for the word, but sometimes the difficult for someone speaking a different language or someone unable to see the word is the cognitive meaning behind the word. So you could also get options for the word that you were trying to correct, but also get read aloud, which this suggestion came from the blind community, and we implemented, embedded in our product for everyone. Another cool example, blind community was Microsoft. Every time you create a new Office or a new Windows, I need to learn new commands in my keyboard, and old commands change, and it's so hard for me. Can you please create a search bar where I type what I want to look for, and I can quickly get what I want? Then we create Tell Me, which is in all the different apps inside Office 365. You just type what you're looking for, and you're going to find this information. This is beautiful for someone visually impaired and blind, but it's also for someone that don't recall all the different commands they can easily use. Again, accessibility for few, usability for many. Learning tools. We came as a team at Microsoft. We do every year hackathon sessions. We bring together different stakeholders from different parts of the organization, and we try to address specific challenges or specific projects. In this one, we work together to address learning disabilities, how we could help kids to learn, or how to read or speak. And we came up with this technology called Learning Tools. By the way, it's for free. If you use OneNote, Word Online, just go Learning Tools, the web, download for free. It's a tool that helps kids with cognitive disabilities, especially dyslexia. And what it does, you have an experience called Immersive Reader, so you don't have any distraction around your screen. And when you press play, you start to see word by word. Someone experiencing dyslexia, letters like D, D, key, always they see in three-dimensional view, and it's so hard for them to follow a sentence or a word. It's pretty hard for them to read. But when they get this technology, they can move from the ability to read 4 to 5 words per minute to up to 60, 70 words per minute. And it's magic. We have today more than 13 million active monthly users using this product that we launched 2 years ago. And this is just a proof that the more you create the right environment, you'll create a more inclusive society in the society per se, or a school, or in a work environment. We are so lucky to experience this at Microsoft. This is a picture of our CEO, Satya Nadella, our employee, Jason, from SharePoint. I work really close to him, and an example from the OneNote learning tools. Microsoft's mission is to empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more. That's the mission, the mission statement for Microsoft. Empowering every person, includes people with disabilities. Satya, in his book, he released a book called Hit Refresh, a really good book, suggests you to read. He mentioned an experience in his life. He has 3 kids, 2 of them with disabilities. The oldest has cerebral palsy, and the youngest learning disabilities. One part of the chapter and paragraph, he mentioned when he was, when the older one was born, he was at the hospital, and he slept at night, and he saw the amount of computers around his son, all the Windows computers, by the way. And he was thinking, if someone press forced update, it could kill his son. So for him, he got a strong sense, empathy, and compassion around the subject for accessibility, that he became the accessibility lead inside Microsoft. And when he became CEO, he appointed Genevieve to be the Chief Accessibility Officer. So accessibility is an organization inside Microsoft, and it's embedded in our culture. What I'm saying from an inclusive design, universal design, is embedded in our culture. To better represent the population we serve, we are also hiring people with disabilities, and we are in a journey to create an inclusive workplace for Microsoft with people with disabilities. We have examples from ALS, examples from quadriplegia, and so many that I will highlight later on, using eyes as a movement that not yet perfect, but showing where we want to be. This is going to be a journey, right? And I'm going to just quickly show, we have more than 100 different functionalities related to accessibility. How many of you heard about SingAI? Please raise your hand. 1. So this is the #1 app for the blind in the world. So you use AI technology with your phone, and you can get a sense of your environment in everything around you. So in case, suppose I am in a meeting, and I met someone, and I want to know more about this person. I ask, do you mind if I take a picture of you, or if I point my phone to you? So I'm going to do this for you.
Ricardo near center 2. Ricardo Wagner near center 1 foot away. Processing. 49-year-old man with brown hair and a beard looking happy.
It's not 49. This tool is not working well.
It's over?
No, please don't say that. But a sense that you can do barcode, you can scan a barcode,
Document.
you can read a document, so the tool can read a document for you. Currency. So I don't know if you experience or saw someone blind, or you have in your family, this is a challenge for them to know how much money they have. So this tool right now is the #1 app for the blind people community in the world, using AI technology, existing apps, in changing the landscape for visually impaired. Closed captions, crucial, so important. And again, not just for hard of hearing or deaf, but someone speaking a different language. So how we create more accessible content, and it's so easy, it's not a big deal. So here's an example: when you create a video, just create a video, go to a document, write down everything you said, and when you upload or share this document, you can do this in a very inclusive way. If you are in a hurry, use Microsoft Stream. Just upload the video that you just created, and you're going to get all the transcript populated, powered by AI. And if you have different people presenting, you have face recognition that you click the person, and you go straight to the point where the person is starting to talk. Or if you just want to hear, for example, from this presentation, everything I said, and when I learn about CAI, you go type CAI, and you're going to go straight to the point that I was demonstrating CAI. That's Microsoft Stream embedded Microsoft 365. Translator, I was about to do this with my machine, so we switched. We're using the one here, but people can install on PowerPoint Translator. You can pick and choose up to 12 languages that you can speak, and select up to 72 languages that you can follow and do a simultaneously subtitle. So it's very cool. All the time I start to speak in Portuguese, you see subtitle in English, and if you have your phone, you can follow in up to 72 different languages. And also, if you are hard of hearing or deaf, you have a way that you can see everything that is said. Or if you are blind, you can ask the phone to talk to you in any language. Really cool. Eye gaze. So that's the technology that we work with Steve. So one of the hackathon sessions we got together is how could we help or bring a technology to help people with ALS. Durability and movement, eyes. That's the only muscle or point that they could move. And we got together to think, in the inclusive design concept, let's focus on abilities. And if the eye is the ability, knowing what Stephen Hawking with Intel, they were already working with that technology, we thought, how can we build this embedded in Windows 10? And how can we make people with ALS or quadriplegia or someone unable to use their arms to experience eye control? And this is a product you can buy on Amazon. It's $130, $50. You plug via USB, call it Tobii Camera. And once you apply Tobii Camera, it works with all Windows 10 machines. And from this point on, you just calibrate the screen and you start to operate the computer using your eyes. Simple as this. I work with Manulife in Montreal. An employee suffered an accident and he became quadriplegic, and we came up with a solution with a Surface device. He's now using voice commands with Cortana and Windows 10 eye control. He can basically operate anyone else. Simple as this. Very cool, huh? Dictation. And this is an interesting thing. There are so many things coming, innovation that are embedded in our phones, in our computer, and people tend still to work in the way that they are used to work, not aware of all the existing technology. The challenge we face is changing processes or changing the way we work. So dictation is a cool one. You can quickly dictate an email. It's faster than typing. Just try it. And you can be more productive, or in case you want to send an email to someone in Quebec and you don't speak French, dictate in English with prompt translation to French, and you make this email really inclusive. Dictation is embedded in Microsoft 365 for Outlook, Word, and PowerPoint as well. Learning tools I mentioned before. For timing, I'm gonna just move a little bit. And one of the things we learned is how we bring this experience from software to hardware. And that's pretty much the reason that we brought with the Surface product line. So the Surface device, I see some Surfaces here in the room. This is the idea that we're trying to envision to showcase how we can help to unlock creativity, improve collaboration, keep a device secure, at the same time easily to manage. And inking, it's a very cool and interesting feature. So for those taking notes in paper, you see a lot of people going to meetings like this one with papers. Just take your laptop, turn to tablet mode, OneNote, and write. It's going to be the same experience. By the way, you're going to save all the notes in the cloud. If something happens, no worries, you can access across different devices. And designers and artists playing with 3D images, there are so many things you can do with inking, and that's also embedded, and by the way, created with the inclusive design concept. So that's what we bring all day across all different devices for a lifetime. I'm going to leave my content. I know that it's a short presentation, but let's keep this dialogue moving. So I would be more than happy to connect with each of you, share more resources, figure out ways to work together. I created some content if you are really interested to learn more about accessibility, the story that we have behind. That's a bare code, but later on we can send to everyone different links. With this, I'm going to just open for a quick Q&A. Question?
So I'm Frank Soki from Intel. First, I'm a fan of everything that you're doing there. Crazy awesome.
You just said that I'm older than 49, but I'm still trying to...
I'm older than 49, so I thought it was a compliment. So maybe, for me it comes down to, I'll use gaming as an example, but when we're talking about future compute and immersive and highly interactive capabilities, it's pretty clear that keyboard and mice aren't for everyone. It's pretty clear that keyboards aren't for everyone. I'm talking specifically in the context of gaming. I'm not aware of either any existing solutions yet or potential solutions that you would be planning for gaming. And I don't want to say just Xbox, because Xbox is a console. Microsoft's all over the place in gaming. It's phone, console, PC, everywhere. So what do you see happening for gamers so that it's for everyone?
Yeah, thank you for asking. How many of you heard about the Xbox Adaptive Controller? No? We launched it 2 months ago, an Xbox Adaptive Controller. It's one of the Hall of Fame's product at Microsoft. It's addressing the point you mentioned. We realized that, we knew that the controller that we have was not letting everyone to play in the same way, especially someone with mobility impairment. So we created an adaptive controller that you can plug in different assistive technology, and we range vast majority of the spectrums for disabilities, and all players can play. I would love to get my machine to showcase to you right now, but what I can tell you is that when you put people in the center of this story, not just technology, you know that we are all geeks, we love technology, but think from the people perspective. I will highlight 2 stories, and you can find this on YouTube. First one is a testimonial of someone with disabilities playing with Xbox Live. This person says, "This is my avatar, and my avatar is not actually me. I am here in a wheelchair, but my avatar is a strong, can walk, run." And by the way, I have many other friends connected via Xbox Live, and it's so easy to make friends online. They see my avatar, they see my points, they see that I can interact and talk, but they don't know me in the offline world. So by playing games, I can be someone that I cannot be in my offline world. It hit us in a way to say, bringing a sense of community, how you can bring the online experience as an extended way. How can we bring more people with disabilities to experience and be part of our society in the online world? So that was on the inside. The other one is we posted a video, Can Game Be Spiritual?
What was that again?
Can Game Be Spiritual? Shows a little guy, when he was 6, his father passed away. Ever since he stopped playing with his Xbox. Then he goes to the basement, opened the Xbox 10 years later, and he started to play the game that he was playing with his father, and suddenly he saw his father passing him. It was I don't know if you know when you play with different avatars, so the ghost of his father was playing with him. I will not tell the end, but that's another thing. So we are fully aware, not just from physical disabilities and gaming perspective, but also the cognitive, the mental health around gaming and technology. By the way, the Windows 10 eye control is also used by gamers as a way for them to play in Xbox. It also works with Xbox. And what I learned, people without disabilities are also using Windows 10, especially for shooting in games that I personally don't like, but for them to react and see quick things, it's easier to use Windows 10 than joystick. More questions, please. One more.
Actually, I have a question. So this new controller you have for mobile challenged or physically challenged, in your experience, how competitive are they compared to a traditional gamer? You know, if you were just having a bird's eye view and looking, would they all be playing equally well? You know, what are some success stories there?
We are starting. I'm not saying that the story is like the first thing is bringing more awareness for companies building games to create games that are inclusive, that people experiencing assistive technology or using assistive device to experience game they can play. The first thing I'm going to say, there are not many games yet, and we are working with the industry to bring this more experience so we can have a data and make comparisons to say how good it is and how to move forward. But what I can tell you is the concept of accessibility for few is usability for many is applying. People that may not need an assistive technology just to better perform a game, they are using assistive technology tools and adaptive controller to play and interact with technology. So we see that this is not just an interesting topic to address and help someone with disability, but they extended the fact that it's really positive.
And one more question, and if you'll forgive me, I don't know if you discussed this in your presentation. From a business point of view, can you put a number to, you know, how much more business this could introduce to the content industry by having this additional accessibility that may not have been there before?
Make it simple. One out of 6 to 7 people, depending on the region. It's like if you have a market, 1 out of 7 people that joins your market. Imagine we are in a market shop now. And 1 out of 7 people may not experience or buy anything from your store because you're not accessible. So there are very few things that I would like to invite from a business case. Disabilities, with the example that Pascal brought before. You said your mom, she experienced ALS when she was 46, 45? 50. So people experience disability during their life. Stats, 50% of population 60 years plus will experience a disability. So think that people by this age, they already have income, qualification, and many things that they can afford, they can buy. There is a conception that people with disabilities, they don't work, they don't produce, they don't have money, so hence this is a difficult market to address. Don't think in this way. In I love to bring stories, and I see that you're wearing a glass, and this is the story for glasses. 1950, people wearing glasses were treated as someone with disabilities. Not sure if it was in Canada and other places, but if you apply for army, you could not go to army because you are wearing glasses. Until someone came up and said, why glasses are all big and black and heavy? And a designer started to bring like different ways to design glasses, and I can see that there are many different kinds of glasses here in the room. When we apply design to accessibility, we get a beautiful thing. So today there are people that don't even need to wear glasses, just wear glasses in a way that they're expressing themselves, and glasses are not seen as an assistive technology anymore. When are we going to get to this point with wheelchair, prostheses, and like all the different assistive technologies that you can mention? So thinking about the extended market opportunity is going to be crucial when you think about business around accessibility.
Thank you.
Thank you.